just hoping it wasn't something from yesterday. Okay, court is in session. The lawyers are present. The defendant is present. Are both sides ready to bring the jury in?
Your Honor, just two real quick matters.
Sure.
I'd like you, if you would please reconsider giving us another.
We did, I think. Didn't we give the state another headset?
And I'm not just speaking for me, I'm speaking for the defense.
And we'll give the defense another one too. Is it okay if I give them yours and then clerks? Give one side to clerks and one side. It wasn't that we were trying to limit the number. There's only 8 that can go on one system, and when we put the 2 systems together, that's what creates the feedback. So,
I mean, I appreciate it because we need 3. I'm sure the defense.
I'm giving both sides 3. The clerk's going to go with that, and
that'd be okay. And the other matter, I have 3 short witnesses. We have a short recess after the 3 short witnesses, so we get our evidence. So
sure.
Your Honor, may I approach this document has been approved between the defense and the state?
Sure.
If the court is in agreement with it, we can send it to the JA and we can use it for the
Thank you for doing that. How'd you do that so quick? Great job. This is exactly what I had envisioned. I think this is going to be great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So
I'll
I'll
send it to your JA?
send it to my JA to...
So did you have it to distribute when it's necessary?
Sure. In other words, I'll keep it, and then we'll distribute it when the time comes. All right. Is there anything else before we bring the jurors in?
Judge, just briefly, I just wanted to put something on the record very briefly.
Sure.
Judge, we are renewing our objection and asking going forward that the court prohibit further in-court identifications of Mr. Cruz. There have been numerous ones at this point. He has pled guilty, so identification is not an issue. Pursuant to Hitchcock versus State, to be admissible in the penalty phase, the state's direct evidence must relate to any of the aggravating circumstances. Evidence necessary to familiarize the jury with the underlying facts of the case may also be introduced during the penalty phase. Identification does not go toward proving any aggravating factor, and it is also not necessary to familiarize the jury with the underlying facts of the case. The reason why the state is permitted, especially in a case like a resentencing or a case where the sentencing jury didn't try the case, is because they may not be in possession of certain facts necessary to determine whether the state has proven the aggravating factors beyond a reasonable doubt. The jury in this case is familiar with the identity of the perpetrator. You have told them numerous times, and we have told them numerous times. Therefore, any evidence that results from an in-court identification is not relevant and then inadmissible pursuant to 9402. It's especially important in the penalty phase of a capital case that the court deny the admission of irrelevant evidence so that death sentences are not imposed arbitrarily and capriciously. In other words, if irrelevant evidence is constantly or consistently admitted in the penalty phase of a capital trial, we can't determine whether the resulting verdict of death was arrived at or not arrived at on an impermissible basis.
Okay.
One more.
Sure.
I think it's a defense strategy and they've wanted to use the word very often throughout the case that the defendant has pled guilty. It's apparent that the defense wants to use that as a mitigating circumstance that he's pled guilty. The state has the right to put the case in its context, and how much evidence there was is a relevant consideration, especially when the defense finds it to be a mitigation that he pled guilty to the charges. There's so much evidence that perhaps that wasn't a big thing in terms of the weight of a mitigation. Nevertheless, the state is entitled to present its case in terms of for the jury to know the context of how much evidence was there in this case. The state has to prove the aggravators beyond a reasonable doubt, the weight of each of the aggravators, each of the convictions which become an aggravator under the first aggravating factor of the previous conviction. And the state may have one witness today who may identify the defendant. I think there's only one today that I'm aware of. I believe everyone else is a police officer today.
So, just so I understand your argument, your position is that even though the fact that the defendant is the person who committed these crimes has been proven, that you are entitled to put on evidence that the witnesses can identify him as the person who committed the crime?
And did identify him. And, Your Honor, we're asking a jury to put a person to death. They need to be very certain that this is the person who committed the crime. We're certainly not putting all the evidence we have of every person who has identified them. But when people, like John Wilford, who sees him in the McDonald's, identifies the person I was talking to as him, the defendant, that seems to be relevant testimony of who he is having a conversation with. I don't see any prejudice to the defense.
Well, that was going to be my next question. If he's admitted that he's committed these crimes and you are essentially stipulating that he is the person that's being talked about by the witnesses, what prejudice is it for a witness to say, I recognize the person that I saw and that's him?
Well, respectfully, Judge, we don't have to demonstrate any prejudice. You only get to prejudice in 403 when probative evidence, the probative value of evidence, needs to be weighed against its prejudice. The argument is it is not probative of any material fact. It's simply not relevant, so it doesn't matter whether it's prejudicial. It isn't relevant, and therefore it's inadmissible. He offered to plead guilty before any evidence was even provided to us or given or publicized. He pled guilty. We told the jury, and in fact, any juror who expressed reservations about the death penalty based on the fact that there have been innocent people executed or innocent people imprisoned on death row for many years before being exonerated, we told them, you don't have to worry about that in this case. He is the one who did it. We have never said he is not the one. And in fact, when he pled, we withdrew all of our motions to suppress identifications because it is no longer an issue. So the evidence is simply not relevant.
Okay, I understand your argument, but let's assume, for the sake of this discussion, that it is relevant. What is the prejudice?
Well, Judge, if it were relevant, then I suppose it wouldn't necessarily be prejudicial, but it's not relevant, and so it should not be admitted.
Okay. Based on the fact, if the state was having one witness after another identify the defendant, in other words, every single witness, I may understand your point, but as far as making sure that the jury knows that the defendant is, in fact, the person that these witnesses are talking about, and to put the situation in context to have, I don't know, how many witnesses have identified? Maybe 5?
Not even 5. 3, I think.
3 out of 44 witnesses so far. For those reasons, I'm going to allow it on a limited basis.
Judge, I would ask if the witness that they intend to have identify him is Ms. Zucchini, I would ask for a moment because I think, is that him? Because I think we filed a motion to suppress, which we withdrew when he pled because it's not relevant.
I'm sorry, I'm not following.
I think we may have initially filed, prior to the plea, a motion to suppress her identification on constitutional grounds. We withdrew that motion when he pled because identity is no longer an issue. If they intend to have her come in, we may have that objection also, and I just need a moment to check that.
Okay.
She's not expected to testify until this afternoon.
Okay, we can do that then later.
So we
That's
can sort
fine.
of pause this part of the
Yes,
argument
ma'am.
or defer,
Yes,
put
it's
a
fine.
pin in it, whatever you want to call it.
Sure. If she's not testifying this morning, then we can look at that at lunchtime or whatever.
Okay,
Thank you.
sure. Is there anything else before we bring the jury in?
Not from the state, Your Honor. Thank
Anything
you.
from the defense?
Sorry, we're
That's
fine,
okay.
thank you.
All right, sure.
Judge, I'm sorry.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
I was advised that yesterday, local Channel 10 has now identified the jurors by name. They have also identified who is the alternate and who is the actual seated juror to deliberate. They have now released all the details about the information of each juror, so I don't know if the court would like to just go on Channel 10 or look at it. We've also printed it for the court's review. But this is precisely one of the reasons why we wanted the jurors to be referred to as numbers. So this was an article, this was on the local10.com website, and it literally sets up the photo from the website literally sets up the jury in the way in which we sit here. Numbers down, it says there's an alternate, and then you can link onto that juror, and you get all the information about the juror. So we just wanted to know that the public is now fully aware of that.
Where's Mr. Pepitone? Is he here? Miss Vasquez, you're here from Channel 10?
I'm here, but until you were to stand up and walk over. Hi.
You can just speak from where you're sitting. The agreement was from the media that they were not going to do that.
I agree with you, and this is news to me that we have jurors' names quote on the website. I know you're referring, Ms. McNeil, to a local10.com script, but I am not a local10.com writer or publisher. So I just flagged it for my station on a WhatsApp chat group so somebody can look into it.
They need to, please relay this message. Take it down now or you all are going to lose your press pass, okay?
Judge, listen, I need to stand corrected. It just identifies the juror number. It doesn't identify the juror name. But it does include the description of who that individual is in their employment. I can make a copy of this so you can view it, but I mistakenly said that it identified the juror by name. It just does identify the location of the juror in the box, that they're either a seated juror to deliberate or an alternate, and then personal information about the juror.
Is it accurate?
I haven't had a chance to look at it. I'd have to compare it to our notes and the jury questionnaires. If you'd like me to do that at lunch, I'd be happy to do that.
I mean, technically, if it doesn't say their name, that they're technically not in violation of any agreement.
I just wanted to bring it to the court's attention.
I would say that's definitely not within the spirit of the agreement, but
More respectfully, Your Honor, what would you like me to convey to the legal team at Local 10 at this point? Because it sounds like the record was clear that the jurors' names are not.
if the jurors' names are not listed, then you all didn't do anything that was in violation technically of the agreement, so you don't have to do anything. But thank you.
Your Honor, one more thing, and it doesn't have to do with what's happening right now, but it's cold in the courtroom. I'm not complaining, but a lot of the jurors are wearing sweaters, and when they leave the courtroom, their buttons, juror buttons, badges should be visible to all. So if you could just remind the jurors that when they leave, that their juror button should be visible on the outside of their clothing.
When we recess for lunch?
Thank you.
Sure. Okay, is there anything else?
No, Your Honor. The defense is ready to proceed.
Great, let's bring the jury in, please. Cold? Does everybody feel like it warms up when everybody gets in here, or no? Adjust it again. and gentlemen, I hope you had a nice afternoon, early afternoon yesterday. Thank you all again for being here and for your patience with us. Members of the jury, before I forget, I know it's cold in here. Unfortunately, a lot of the kinks in this new courtroom, this new grand courtroom, have not been worked out yet, and it seems that it either has been freezing or hot. We are aware of that. I know many of you have brought sweaters and jackets, and that's perfectly fine. I would just ask that if you wear those sweaters and jackets when you're on a recess, in other words, when you go to lunch, if you would make sure that your juror badge is visible. You don't have to do it while you're sitting here. We all know who you are. And you don't have to do it when you're just in the back hallway. Only when you're walking, like, let's say, to your car to go grab a bite to eat, just make sure the badge is visible, okay? Thank you so much. Both sides ready to proceed?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. State, call your next witness.
Thank you. Captain Nikolas Cruz.
Good morning, sir. Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. You can go ahead and be seated. And when you're seated, please state your full name and spell your last name for the record.
Nikolas Mazzi, M-A-Z-Z-E-I.
And your occupation, sir?
I am a police officer with the City of Coral Springs Police Department.
And do you have a rank at the present time?
I am currently a captain.
Okay. And how long have you been a police officer?
21 years.
Okay. I'd like to call your attention to Wednesday, February the 14th, 2018. Did you have an occasion to respond to a location?
Yes, I did.
And where did you respond to?
Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School.
And where did you respond from?
The City of Coral Springs Police Department.
And where is that with reference to Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School?
The exact mileage I do not know, but it is down Coral Springs Drive, a few miles away.
Okay, just a few miles?
Correct.
Okay. And did you approach a certain building?
I did.
And which building did you approach?
I approached from the west side of the 1200 building.
Okay. When you approached the building, did you observe anything?
I did.
What did you observe?
I observed officers were on scene already, and then as we moved closer to the building, I observed a body lying on the ground outside of the west doors.
Okay. Let me show you now. State's Exhibit 5F and State's Exhibit 73. If you hold that down, please, Captain, and look at it, please. You recognize those exhibits?
I do.
Okay. And are they one and the same individual?
Yes, they are.
And does State's Exhibit, excuse me for a second.
No worries.
State's Exhibit 7B, does that accurately depict the individual lying by the west stairwell door
Yes, it does.
as it existed on February the 14th, 2018?
Yes.
Your Honor, at this time I'd like to offer 7B.
7B?
B.
Okay. I thought you said 73. So it's
I think
7B.
the other exhibit,
I heard 5F and
yeah, this is 5F. I want to introduce 5F, and I can't read,
that's our fault.
this is 7B.
5F and 7B.
Yeah.
Is there any objection?
I'm just not sure what 5F is.
I'll give them to you. Oh, it's okay.
Thank you. Mr. Secor,
Ma'am.
do you have an objection?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Defense objection states Exhibit 5F for identification will be received as states 104 and states 7B as in boy for identification will be received as states 105.
Thank you. Captain Mazzi, I'm going to show you now State's Exhibit 105 that has been introduced and ask you if you can see that.
Yes, I can.
Okay, and is that, do you know who that is?
I do.
Who is that?
That is Aaron Feiss.
Okay. And is that the way you saw him when you approached the western portion of the 1200 building?
Yes, it is.
Okay. And showing you State's Exhibit 104. Who is that?
That is Aaron Feiss.
Okay. So once you saw Mr. Feiss, what did you do?
I checked him for vitals, realized that he was deceased, believed that there was still a shooter inside the building, and we made entry into the building.
Okay. And how did you get into the building, Captain?
We went through the western doors.
Okay. Let me show you State's Exhibit 100. It's already been introduced in evidence. And State's Exhibit 24E. So take a look at that. And State's Exhibit 24E. Do you recognize State's 24E?
I do.
Okay. And how do you recognize it?
This is a photograph of me making contact with a victim right inside the west doors. And this is a photograph of that same victim.
Okay. Your Honor, this time I'd like to offer 24E. You know which photograph I'm talking about, Casey?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Over the defense objection, State's Exhibit 24E for identification will be received as State's 106.
Okay, Captain, I'm going to show you State's Exhibit, now it's introduced in evidence 106. Can you see that okay?
I can.
Okay, and who is in that photograph?
That is me talking to Christopher Hickson.
Okay. And that's when you, at what point is this?
This is upon our initial entry through the west side doors.
Okay. Showing you State's Exhibit marked 100. Who is that?
That is Christopher Hickson.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Captain. Your Honor, thank you. I have no further questions of the Captain. Yes.
No questions? Okay. Thank you, Captain. You're excused.
Thank you.
Sergeant Vander Reeves.
Good afternoon, sir. Please, you've already got your hand raised. So do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. You can go ahead and be seated. And when you're seated, if you would please state your full name and spell your last name.
Richard Vandereems, Vandereems.
And your occupation, sir?
I'm a sergeant with the Broward Sheriff's Office.
And how long have you been a law enforcement officer?
23 years.
How long have you been with the Broward Sheriff's Office? 23
years.
I'd like to call your attention to Wednesday, February the 14th, 2018. Were you on duty on that occasion?
Yes, I was.
Did you have an occasion on that date to respond to a certain location?
Yes, I did.
Where did you respond to?
I was a officer or a deputy in the city of Deerfield Beach. I was on power line between 10th Street and Hillsborough Boulevard at the time.
Okay. And what did you do?
The call came out across our area in reference to a possible shooting at the high school. I ran code 3 down power line up to Sawgrass Expressway.
What's code 3?
I'm sorry, I went lights and sirens to the school.
Okay. And when you arrived into campus, were you going to a certain building on the campus?
Yes, I was going to the freshman building,
1200 building?
Yes.
Okay. So when you approached the 1200 building, how did you approach it? From the west, east, how did you approach it?
I got off of Coral Ridge Drive. I went the back way through, which is down around the Walmart. There's a little curve through Westglades. So I got on Hamburg, went eastbound on Hamburg. I ended up having to go wrong way traffic because the road was blocked. I parked in the center medium area, and then I got out and I ran through the open gate to the east side of Building 12.
Okay. And which entrance to Building 12 did you approach?
I approached the east side building, east door.
Okay. The double doors?
Yes.
And did you enter the double doors?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And when you entered, what did you do?
When I went in, I originally went through the front doors. I observed a a child dead on the ground on the left, and there was like smoke and dust in the air. And I observed other officers a little bit further ahead. I checked one room on the left-hand side, and then I went up to the front of the officers that were there. They were clearing the kids out of the rooms, and myself and another officer went towards the front to kind of keep them covered as they were pulling kids out, and we were pushing down the hallway.
Okay. And did you eventually go up the stairs?
Yes, I went up to the third floor where 3 other officers were at, and at that time we looked down the hallway, and there was a child all the way at the very end. He was kind of like trying to raise his hand up, and he was trying to say something, but he kept trying to raise his hand up so we could see that he was alive.
And did you go to his aid?
Yeah, myself, Deputy Schmidt, Deputy Alvin, Deputy Hodson.
Are they deputies or?
I'm sorry, officers.
Okay.
Officer Hodson, Officer Alvin, and Officer Schmidt.
Okay.
We went down, we grabbed him, and we drug him all the way back to the west side stairwell where one of the medics had just came up and started to work on him.
Okay. And do you know that individual's name?
No, I do not know the medic's name.
Okay. All right, let me show you, and did you eventually go onto the third floor?
Yeah, that whole time I was on the third floor because I started on the west side stairwell on the third floor, and we went all the way down to the east side, grabbed Anthony, and we brought him all the way back to the west side.
Okay. So you said Anthony. I thought you said you didn't know his name.
Oh, the victim, I know, yeah, Anthony Borges. I thought you meant the medic. I didn't know his name.
No, I'm sorry. You ask a lot of questions. You get everybody confused. Okay, that's what I was asking you. The student that you helped.
Yeah, that was Anthony.
Anthony Borges. Okay. Yeah, thank you. Sorry. So let me show you. On the third floor, did you? Was your body camera working?
Yes.
Okay. Let me show you State's Exhibit 7C for identification. Deputy. Here, take a look at that. Do you recognize that?
Yes.
And is that from your body camera?
Yes.
And does it accurately and truly depict the scene on February 14, 2018 as you pass the men's restroom?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Your Honor, at this time I'd like to offer State's Exhibit 7C.
Is there any objection?
We just incorporate renewal objections in DMIL 12, please.
Okay, over the defense objection, State's Exhibit 7C for identification will be received as State's 107.
Thank you, ma'am.
Mr. Sets, will this be published just to the jurors and related or to everyone?
Just for the jurors and
Okay.
we told the
Oh, you already, I didn't know that. Great, thank you.
So nothing's supposed to be today shown.
To the public?
Yes.
Okay. You know that. Thanks.
Okay, now I'm showing you State's Exhibit marked 107. Deputy Vandereen, can you see that?
Yes.
And is that the way you saw that individual in the men's restroom alcove?
Yes.
Okay.
And that was after we drugged Anthony back.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
And I want to show you now State's Exhibit for identification 7F. Yes, you did. Hold that. You recognize that photograph?
Yes.
Is that an accurate and true depiction of a photograph from your body cam that existed on February the 14th, 2018?
Yes.
And does it accurately show two people in an alcove in front of 1249?
Yes.
Okay, Your Honor, at this time, I'd like to offer State's Exhibit 7F.
Is Is there any objection?
We object pursuant to DMIL 12, please.
Okay. Over the defense objection, States Exhibit 7F for identification will be received as States 108.
Deputy Andrews, I'd like to show you now that photograph. It's 108. Does that truly and accurately depict those two individuals?
Yes,
And do you know who those two individuals are?
yes.
Who are they?
Cara is the one with the white shirt and the blue stripe, and Meadow is the one with the blue jeans, gray top, and the little pink backpack, or pink backpack. Sorry.
I'd like to show you States Exhibit 5J. Can you recognize who that is?
Cara,
Okay, is that Carol Logren?
yes. Cara log.
And States Exhibit 5N,
Meadow,
Meadow Pollock.
yes.
The two girls that you just identified in States Exhibit 108.
Yes.
Okay. Your Honor, I'd like to offer now States Exhibit 5J and 5N. Oh, you have it? Sure. Here, let me get you.
May I approach?
You may, thank you. Okay, defense, is there any objection to the admission of States 5J for identification and 5N for identification?
Yes, ma'am. Briefly. if I may.
You said yes?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. States 5N for identification, States 5J for identification will be received as States 109, and States 5N, as in Nancy, for identification will be received as States 110.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
And I have no further questions of Deputy Vander.
Okay, defense?
No, ma'am, thank you.
All right, thank you, sir. You're excused.
Officer David Alpin, please.
Well, he's coming up. I just have a quick question for the lawyers, if you all would go sidebar for a moment.
Good morning.
Good morning.
And your occupation, sir?
I am a detective with the Coral Springs Police Department.
Okay. And how long have you been a police officer?
About 17 years.
Okay. Have all been with the Coral Springs Police Department?
No, sir. I was also a special agent with the Federal Bureau of Investigation for 1 year in Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Okay. And all the rest with Coral Springs?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'd like to call your attention to Wednesday, February the 14th, 2018. Did you have occasion to respond to a certain location?
I did.
And where did you respond to?
I responded to Building 1 of the Stoneman Douglas School at about 2:42 p.m.
Okay. And where is that building?
It's on the southeast side of the campus.
Okay. Did you eventually get to the 1200 building?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Did you go from the number 1 building, the administration building, to the 1200 building?
Yes, I did.
How did you proceed from building 1 to 12?
I walked with another detective to the northeast side of the campus to Building 12.
Okay. And did you enter building 12?
I did.
And what entrance did you enter?
On the east side of the building,
Okay.
on the first floor.
Okay. And how did you proceed on the first floor? Did you?
I met up with our Captain Mock at the time, and he directed me to continue down to the west side of the building to the second floor stairwell.
Okay. And did you go up the stairwell?
I did.
And where did you go?
I was there for a short period of time and then went to the third floor stairwell.
Okay. Were you the first officer up on the third floor?
I believe so. I was with 2 other officers, but it was pretty close to the first up there.
Who were you with?
Officer Schmidt and Officer Hodgson.
Okay. And did Deputy Van der Reens ever join you?
I believe so. I may have spoken to him on the second floor before I was up there.
Okay. And then what did you, let me show you State's Exhibit marked 6Y and ask you if you can identify this.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Does this accurately and truly depict you going up to the third floor?
It does.
And who else is in there?
Officer Hodgson, Detective Hodgson, is on the right in the front there, and then I believe it's Officer Schmidt on the left.
Okay, Your Honor, this time I'd like to offer State's Exhibit 6Y.
Is there any objection?
No, ma'am.
Okay, State's Exhibit 6Y for identification will be received as State's 111.
Detective Alphen, showing you State's Exhibit 111. Can you see that okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay, where are you?
I am the bottom right of the three officers there.
Okay. And who are the other two officers?
Officer Hodgson is on the top right without a helmet, and Officer Schmidt is on the left with a helmet.
And this is the third floor landing on the west side?
Correct.
Okay. And what's on the landing?
In front of us, there is a vest and a rifle on top of it, and on the right is Jamie Gutenberg.
Okay. And let me show you now State's Exhibit marked 6Z.
Yes, sir.
What does that depict?
It shows me checking for vital signs on Jamie Gutenberg and the other officers covering the doors.
Okay. Does that 6Z truly and accurately depict you checking the vital signs on Miss Gutenberg?
It does.
Okay. Your Honor, I'd like to offer 6Z.
Is there any objection?
Just cumulative under 403, thank you.
So you're renewing your...
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so noted. Over the defense continued objection, 6Z for identification will be received as State's 112.
Detective Alphen, showing you State's Exhibit 112. Where are you?
I am over Jamie Gutenberg.
Okay. And what happened? You checked her? Any vital signs?
Yes, I checked her vital signs for breath and for pulse. I found none, and I checked several times. And then we held there for a moment, and Officer Schmidt and I heard a voice we thought coming from the hallway.
Okay. Then what did you guys do?
We cracked the door, confirmed that somebody in the hallway was asking for help, and we decided we were going to move into the hallway to go get them.
Okay. And did you do that?
Yes, we did.
And who did you go with?
I know I was in the front, so I didn't see who was with me behind, but I believe Officer Schmidt and Detective Hodgson, was also with us. Whoever was behind them, I'm not sure.
Okay.
But we pushed into the hallway.
All right. And did you see Deputy Van der Reens up on the third floor?
I did not see him there. I know that he had been there, but he was behind me.
Okay. So tell us what you did.
We moved into the hallway and walked towards the voice, which turned out to be Anthony Borges. Made contact with him. I was still looking down the hallway, covering in case we encountered a subject, and the officers dragged him back to get him into the hallway to provide medical care.
Okay. And then what did you do?
I then stayed in the hallway and assisted with clearing the rest of that floor.
Okay. Let me show you now State's Exhibit Mark 107 that's been introduced into evidence. And do you recognize that?
Yes.
Okay. And what did you do?
While we were clearing the various rooms on this floor, one of the bathroom doors had a young man laid up against it who was deceased, Joaquin Oliver. I had to remove him from the door so that it could be checked to ensure nobody was inside of it.
Okay. And I'm going to show you now State's Exhibit 5L for identification. And ask you if you can identify who that is.
Yes, it's Joaquin Oliver.
Okay. This is the person you dragged out of the men's room alcove.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Your Honor, I'd like to offer 5L.
Okay, defense, is there any objection to 5L for identification being received into evidence?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I'll hear the objection sidebar. Okay. Over the defense objection, State's Exhibit 5L for identification will be received as State's 113.
So, Detective Alvin, I'm going to show you 5G. You know who that photograph depicts?
Jamie Gutenberg.
Okay. And I'm going to show you 5R. You know who that photograph depicts?
Peter Wang.
Okay. Now, you mentioned where you saw Jamie Gutenberg on
Yes.
the third floor landing and you checked her pulse.
Yes, sir.
With reference to Peter Wang, did you see him there?
I did. When I peeked out before entering that hallway, I saw him in the corner, in the deep west corner, slumped down on the ground there.
Okay. Your Honor, I'd like now to offer State's Exhibit 5G and 5R.
Okay.
Subject to the same objection, please.
Okay, thank you. Your objection is noted. Over the defense objection, State's 5G will be received as State's 114, and State's 5R will be received as State's 115.
Your Honor, I have no further questions of Detective Alvin. Thank you, Detective.
Thank you.
Defense, do you have any questions for this witness?
No, ma'am.
Okay, thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
State you're not publishing these at this time?
I was going to work.
It's your case. I just want to make sure I didn't interrupt you. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, at this time, we're going to take a 15-minute recess, and please do not discuss the case among one another. Please leave your notepads on your chairs, and we'll see you back in a few minutes. Thank you. Okay, the jurors have been excused. We're going to be in recess for 10-15 minutes. And they're going to take him to the restroom as soon as the jurors have cleared the hallway.
Thank you, Your Honor.
It's exactly what I wanted. Yes. The jurors are coming in.
Jurors are entering.
Okay, the jurors are present. Everyone may be seated. Stage, go ahead and call your next witness.
Dr. Yuri Boyko.
Good afternoon, sir. Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. You can be seated, and when you're seated, please state your full name and spell your last name for the record.
I'm Dr. Yuri Boyko, last name Boiko.
And good afternoon, Dr. Boyko.
Good afternoon.
What is your occupation, sir?
I'm Associate Medical Examiner in Broward County Medical Examiner Office.
Okay. And how long have you been so employed?
12 years.
What is your education?
I received my MD, PhD in Ukraine, came to USA in 1994, has additional education here like residency in general pathology for 4 years and fellowship for 1 year in Harris County Medical Examiner Office in Houston. After that, I was working as Associate Medical Examiner in Charleston, West Virginia for 2 years. And from 2008, I working here in Broward County.
Okay. What is pathology?
Pathology is science which determines cause of disease in general.
And what is forensic pathology?
Forensic pathology is public. Forensic means public, and forensic pathologists determine cause and manner of death to present it in the court.
Are you a diplomat in anything?
Yes, I am board certified in general pathology, board certified in forensic pathology, and I have medical license in the state of Florida.
And how long have you had a medical license in the state of Florida?
From 2008.
What is an autopsy?
Autopsy is examination of the body. We have external examination of the body, and autopsy is internal examination of the body to determine cause and manner of death.
And how many autopsies have you performed in your career?
In total, approximately 4,000.
And how many of those autopsies that you performed, doctor, were you able to determine the cause of death?
All of them. It's my purpose.
And those autopsies that you performed, how many were caused by gunshot wounds?
Approximately 200.
Have you ever been qualified as an expert in a court of record in forensic pathology?
Yes.
How many times?
All this 200 times when I present in the court.
And in what courts?
here in Broward County and in West Virginia.
Okay. Let me call your attention to February the 15th, which was a Thursday, 2018. Did you have occasion to be in your office?
Yes,
And were you called upon to do or perform an autopsy on one Martin Duque Acquiano?
yes,
And did you do that?
yes.
Okay, I want to show you State's exhibits marked for identification. 15W, 15B, 15U, 15T, 15S, 15R, 15Q, 15P, 15O, 15N, 15M, 15L, 15K, 15J, 15I, 15H, 15G, 15F, and 15E. And this one is 5D. And I'm going to show you these, Dr. Boyko. And take a look at them and hold them down if you don't mind. And tell me if you recognize those.
Yes, I recognize it.
Okay. And what are they?
It's photographs which were taken during autopsy of Martin Duke.
Okay. And would they aid you in explaining to the court and to the jury the nature of the wounds that were received by Martin Duque Acquiano?
Yes,
Okay.
it's multiple gunshot wounds.
Okay. Your Honor, I'd like to offer those exhibits that I read into the record.
We would object pursuant to DMIL 12 as well as the arguments made prior to the witness taking the stand.
Okay. Yes, please. One of them doesn't have an evidence sticker.
Is that the 5D?
It says 5D on the pen, but
Right. Is there another one
it doesn't have an evidence sticker?
that looks like this one?
Let me see.
Maybe,
Yeah,
maybe it's a duplicate. I wasn't.
And let's see if you, so do you want to just,
Yeah, I'll put one.
you all have seen 5D. It has the number 5D on it, but it does not have an evidence sticker.
We have a notation of what it is, Jim.
Okay.
Thank you.
Do you have a notation of what it is?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'm just going to mark it 5D, if that's okay.
Sure. Okay. For the defense objection, 5D, as in dog, will be received as 116. 15E will be received as 117. 15F will be received as 118. 15G will be received as 119. 15H will be received as 120. 15I will be received as 121. 15J will be received as 122. 15K received as 123. 15L, like Larry, will be received as 124. 15M, as in Mary, 125. 15N, like Nancy, 126. 15O, 127. 15P, as in Paul, 128. 15Q, 129. 15R, 130. 15S, like Sam, 131. 15T, like Tom, 132. 15U, 133. 15V, like Victor, 134. And 15W, 135.
Dr. Boyka, while the clerk is, marking those photographs, how many entrance wounds were there to Martin Duque-Aquino?
It's 8
Okay.
total, 8 gunshot wounds.
And when you were performing the autopsy, did you label the wounds?
Yes,
And why do you do that?
to describe these wounds and to see it just for organization purposes, to put A, B, C.
Okay. And do you also label any exit wounds?
Yes,
What's the first thing you do during an autopsy?
first name.
What's the first thing you do?
Firstly, I perform external examination of the body.
And then what?
And after that, during this examination, I describe all these wounds which I found on the body. And after that, I perform autopsy, internal examination of the body, and see what is direction of these wounds
Okay.
and injury from these wounds.
Okay. You just can wait a second. I'll go over these wounds with you.
sidebar for a moment, please?
Doctor, first I'd like to show you State's Exhibit 116. Is that Martin Duque Aquino that you performed an autopsy on?
Yes.
Okay. And let's, since you labeled the wounds, I'd like to go over wound A, which is reflected on photograph 119. Is that your wound A? You labeled that A?
Yes.
Okay. Do you want to describe that to us and what the results of your examination were?
It's entrance gunshot wound on the right cheek of decedent.
Okay. And the path of the projectile?
Path of projectile, it came through the mandibular, through the tongue, and exit on the left upper chest, through the neck, and exit on the left upper chest.
What is assured skin abrasion?
Abrasion means superficial scraping of the skin, and when you see abrasion around the wound, it's marginal abrasion. We call it entrance wound. When bullet coming through the body, it makes scraping of the skin. It's marginal abrasion.
Okay. And I'm going to now show you State's Exhibit marked 120. It's labeled B.
Yes, B is exit wound located on the left side of the chest, and you see this track of the bullet
Doctor,
through the neck.
we can put up you can mark on the screen. Ian, could you help him with that?
Just in fingers. Okay. Yes, you can see this track of the bullet coming from the right cheek through the mouth, through the bones, through the left clavicle, and exit here.
Okay. And you label that A and B. That's the
Correct.
B is the exit wound of A, correct?
Yes, B is exit wound.
Okay. Now I will show you State's Exhibit marked 121, Dr. Boyko, and you have that labeled C and D.
Yes.
I don't know who's in charge of erasing the mark that's
I am.
on. Okay.
Okay, got it.
I'm not doing a good job.
I mean, I don't know whose computer is controlling that.
Oh,
It's erased.
I erased it.
Okay, just wondering.
No, I forgot.
Penetrating gunshot wound of the right side of the chest is marked by C. Penetrating means that bullets just came to the body and it's recovered from the body. perforating means through and through. You have entrance and exit. So B is penetrating gunshot wound of the chest, on the chest, and it's marked with letter C. So it's entrance wound for gunshot wound B.
And did it exit or did you recover it in C?
I recovered projectile fragment from the left side of chest.
Okay. And at the entrance wound C that's
Yes.
described in Exhibit 121, what damage did that do?
It's perforate right rib number 4 and perforate pleura, right lung, mediastinum, left lung, and left posterior rib number 6. So bullet came here and come through the chest, perforating both lung, mediastinum, and I recovered it from the left side of the chest.
Okay. And on the same exhibit right below gunshot wound that you labeled C, Dr. Boyko, is a wound labeled D.
Yes, it's next gunshot wound, it's C, but entrance wound is D. It's penetrating gunshot wound of the right side of the chest also. So it's two entrance, C for second gunshot wound, which mark B. And D is, let's mark it numbers. First to the right cheek was number 1 gunshot wound. Second, which C is number 2 gunshot wound, and D number 3 gunshot wounds. So entrance wound is D on the right side of the chest. Bullet perforates the rib, also lung, and I recovered is from the right side of the chest.
Okay. And what damage did gunshot wound D do?
Perforation of the right lung and ribs. Also diagrams and liver. So it came down. Direction was through the lung and through the liver.
Okay. Doctor, I noticed if in gunshot wound, in gunshot C and gunshot D, they appeared different than the gunshot wound to his right cheek. Did you notice how it goes in? Is there a medical explanation
Yes.
for that?
Sometimes entrance wound has small marginal abrasion, like you can see on the first wound, which was on the right cheek. These two entrance wounds on C and D has some short abrasions. They call it short, but it's like shore. And it's because bullet was caused by tight clothing, and bullet perforating clothing makes abrasion, more large abrasion on the body by itself. But it's entrance wound still.
Okay. And now, Dr. Boyko, I'd like to show you State's Exhibit marked 122, and it's labeled M. Can you see that, Doctor?
Yes.
Okay. Let me erase that.
So it's number 4 gunshot wound, entrance wound M. It's perforating gunshot wound of the left side of lower torso. This wound perforates abdominal wall, peritoneum, intestine, left kidney, and exit on the left side of lower back. So exit wound mark letter N.
Okay. And State's Exhibit marked 123, and you have it labeled N.
Yes.
What is that?
It's exit wound for number 4.
Okay. And what damage did gunshot wound 4 or gunshot wound M do?
Yes, it perforates intestine and left kidney and left posterior rib number 11, because perforation of the intestine and left kidney is hemorrhages consistent with
Okay.
this wound.
Okay, now I want to show you State's Exhibit marked 124, and you have it labeled E. Can you see that, Doc?
Yes,
Okay, what is that?
it's entrance wound for gunshot wound number 5 already. It's located on the right arm, and it has also this short abrasion, more large one. And this perforating gunshot wound, it has exit wound on the anterior medial surface of the right forearm. So this wound perforates muscles of the right arm, multiple muscles, and exit. So associated injuries include intramuscular hemorrhages of the right arm.
Okay. And you said it exits, and I'll show you State's Exhibit marked 125.
Yes, exit mark like letter F, it's exit of the wound.
Okay. And why, can you explain why that exit wound is so large compared to the entrance wound?
Yes, because it's high velocity gunshot wounds, and when it's high velocity, it's cause tumbling of the bullet with contact with soft tissue, and bullets start to tumbling and cause such a large exit wound.
Okay. And I want to show you State's Exhibit now, 126. And you have it labeled gunshot wound G.
Yes, it's entrance wound on the right forearm, and this bullet perforates muscles of the right forearm, bones like ulna and radius, and exit on anterior surface of right forearm. Exit would mark with letter H.
Okay. Now showing you State's Exhibit 127. And is this the exit wound that you were talking about, marked H?
Yes, it's exit wound.
Okay. Again, that appears a much larger exit wound than the entrance wound?
Yes, and in this particular gunshot wound, it's perforate both bones of the forearm, ulna and radius, so it's fragment of these bones also cause some wounds when it's coming out from the body. It's like small projectiles became, because bones broken and became some particles, some parts of the bones also. Like you can see it's around the wound, small wounds. So it's probably from bone fragments or bullet fragments which perforate the bones and fracture the bones.
All right, I now show you State's Exhibit marked 128, and you have it marked I.
It's perforating gunshot wounds of the left forearm. Perforating exit wound is on the lateral midline of the left forearm. So this wound perforate muscles of the left forearm and cause intramuscular hemorrhages.
And it exits?
Exit marked with letter J.
Okay. Showing you State's Exhibit marked 129.
Yes, it's exit wound.
Is that the exit from
Yes.
I? Okay. And showing you gunshot wound that you labeled K in State's Exhibit 130. Could you tell us what K indicates?
It's perforating gunshot wound of the left hand.
Okay.
It's entrance wound.
And
Wound
is it-
perforates tissue of the left hand, and bones, number 1, number 4, and exit on the, it's letter L. It's exit on the left hand, lateral midline of the left hand.
Okay. Showing you State's Exhibit 131.
Yes, it's exit wound.
Is that the exit wound?
Yes,
Okay. Again, that appears to be much larger than the entrance wound.
yes, because bones are fractured and bullets probably were stumbled.
What is a defensive wound?
We call it classically wounds which you find on the extremities, on the hands and legs. We call it defense type of wounds because a person try to protect more vital organs like head and torso with extremities, with hands or with legs when they in lying position. So just by definition, wounds on the hands and legs we call defense types of wound.
Would State's Exhibit marked 130 that you just talked about, K, is that indicative, in your opinion, of a defensive wound?
Yes, because it's on the hand, on the arms. Looks like person tried to protect himself with hands.
And it exits at L, right?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. And I want to show you State's Exhibit 132. What is that, Doctor?
It's projectile fragment
And
was recovered during autopsy from the body.
okay, and also State's Exhibit marked 133,
Yes.
and you have that marked liver.
Yes, it was recovered from the liver, this fragment. Projectile fragment recovered from the liver during autopsy.
And why is it so small?
Because it was, for high velocity projectiles, usually when they strike the bones, they just blow up and on small fragments. And these fragments cause injury more dangerous because it's injured different organs. So this projectile fragment was recovered from the liver.
Okay. And I'll show you also State's Exhibit marked 134.
Yes, it's also projectile fragment.
Okay, and this is from Martin Duque Aquino, correct?
Yes,
And 132.
yes.
And
That's-
go ahead, I'm sorry.
There's fragments which was recovered during autopsy.
Okay. And what was, Dr. Boyko, what was the cause of death?
Cause of death is multiple gunshot wounds.
Which of the 8 gunshot wounds would have been, in your opinion, fatal in and of themselves?
One is to the head and neck, to the torso, to the chest, because it's perforating lungs and liver and cause extensive bleedings. Wounds to the extremities contributed also to the death because it caused bleeding, extensive bleeding. But the most lethal is to the head and to the torso.
Do you have an opinion as to how long Martin Duque Aquilano would have lived before he would have died of these wounds?
Couple of minutes.
Okay. And let me show you State's Exhibit 135, Doctor, if you can tell me what that is.
Yes, you can see on it's an X-ray which was taken from the body, and this X-ray shows these small fragments. This one, all these small fragments. It's fragments of the projectiles in the body. As I said, when it's high velocity, it's usually striking the bones and and blow up for this disintegrated for small fragments. And you see these small fragments. Sometimes we call it snowstorm because it's like small fragments everywhere. So I recovered the largest fragments from these projectiles.
Based on your autopsy, Dr. Boyko, were you able to tell if any of the wounds were post-mortem or were they all ante-mortem, meaning before death and after death? Obviously.
Well, I think all wounds were ante-mortem because it was bleeding everywhere. When wound is post-mortem, you don't see bleeding. And all these wounds was this hemorrhagic projectile tract, so it's ante-mortem before death.
Okay. Thank you. Let me just select these. Okay, Dr. Boyko, I want to now show you the State's exhibits. (16N), (16M), (16L), (16K), (16J), 16I, 16H, 16G, 16F, 16E, 16D, 16C, 16B, 16A, 23F, 15Z, 15Y, 15X. Show you these photographs, Dr. Boyko. So you hold them down and take a look at them. You recognize those?
Yes.
You performed an autopsy on Elena Petty?
Yes, I did.
And is that Elena Petty?
Yes.
Okay. And with these photographs, based on the identification numbers I read into the record, aid you in explaining the gunshot wounds to Elena Petty that you discovered?
Yes.
Your Honor, at this time I'd like to offer those exhibits, please.
Just like to make objections presented to the MIL 12 as well as the arguments made before the witness take the stand. Thank you.
There's one that does not have 15. This one doesn't have an evidence sticker, and it's not any of the numbers that you called out. Do you-
Okay, I think it's the same thing that happened before, so.
Okay, so,
May I put a,
do you want to tell me?
you have seen this photograph, right? Yes, sir.
The ones that were announced for the record are 16A through N, then 15X, 15Y, 15Z, and then also 23F. Do you all want these back to see which,
Sorry,
do you want these back so you can see which numbers?
this we left out?
Yes.
Okay. 5M.
5M. You didn't announce 5M for the record. I don't know if you showed it
No.
to your witness.
No, I did.
Why
So
don't
I-
you clarify just so
okay.
the record is
Okay.
clear which ones he's viewed, because I didn't hear 5M.
Doctor, I want to show you 5M. Do you recognize?
Yes,
And that's the Laney Petty that you performed the
yes.
Thank you. Roy.
Thank you.
And doctor, while the clerk is marking that, do you also weigh the body and determine height and weight?
Yes,
And what was the measurements and the age of Lena Petty?
the body was weighing 105 pounds, is 65 inches in length, and appear compatible with reported age of 14 years.
Okay. And Martin Duque, I didn't ask you about, if you don't mind.
The body is 183 pounds, 66 inches in length, and compatible with reported age of 14 years.
Thank you, Doctor.
Okay. Over the defense objection, the exhibits will be received in the following order. 16A will be received as 137. 16B, 138. 16C, 139. 16D, 140, 16E, 141, 16F, 142, 16G, 143, 16H, 144, 16I, 145, 16J, 146, 16K, 147, 16L, 148, 16M as in Mary, 149, 16N like Nancy, 150, 5M like Mary is 136, 15X like X-ray is 151, 15Y 152, 15Z like zebra, 153, and 23F like Frank is 154.
Okay, Dr. Boyko, let's, with Elena Petty, I want to show you State's Exhibit 152. Could you please tell us what that reflects?
Well, it's photographs taken during autopsy and show wounds on her body, or decedent's body.
All right. You have gunshot wound A.
Yes, gunshot wound 8, it's entrance wound on the left breast. Bullet perforates the left lung, heart, ribs, and exit on left side of back.
And what damage did gunshot wound A do?
It perforates lungs and heart, so it's deadly gunshot wound.
The lung and the heart?
Yes.
Okay. And did it exit?
Exit on the left side of back.
Okay. And I'll show you State's Exhibit marked 153. Marked L.
Yes.
Is that the exit wound for gunshot wound A?
Correct.
Okay. And again, I'll show you State's Exhibit 152 that we've already discussed, where you described gunshot wound A. How about gunshot wound B?
Gunshot wound B, it's entrance wound, mark B, and this wound perforates left anterior rib number 7. After that, bullet was fragmented to multiple fragments, which perforates lungs, liver, kidney, and exit on left lateral side of torso.
Okay, and is that the exit wound C?
Yes.
Okay. And the damage that gunshot wound entrance B and exit wound C goes through the liver?
Fragments, yes.
Fragments, okay. And I'll show you now State's Exhibit marked 154, and you have labeled it gunshot wound N.
Yes.
Wait, let me get the N in here.
It's perforating gunshot wound of the left arm. It's entrance wound N.
Okay. And does it exit?
Yes, it's multiple exits because bullet perforates muscles and bones of the left arm, and it's of course produce multiple fragments which has multiple exit wounds on the left arm.
Okay. And what did you label the exit wounds of entrance wound N?
I labeled D, E, F, G, and M.
Okay. Showing you State's Exhibit marked 158.
Yes, it's D.
It's D. Where is that on the body?
It's on the left arm, posterior surface of the left arm. It's here on the left arm.
And this is from entrance wound N?
Yes.
Okay. And State's Exhibit 139, you have labeled E?
Yes.
And that's the same arm?
Yes.
And that's the same gunshot wound?
Yes.
How do you explain?
I told already that this bullet perforates all bones on the left arm. It's high velocity gunshot wounds, and when projectile came, it's perforate bones on the left arm, ulna, radius, humerus, and all these bones, when it's blow up, it's produce multiple additional fragments which tears the skin and cause these multiple large exit wounds. It's like blow in the arms from high velocity bullet.
So, State's Exhibit 140, another you labeled F as, again, from gunshot wound M,
Yes.
and that's a continuation of the
Yes.
blowing up of the bullet, okay? And State's Exhibit 141, you labeled G,
Yes.
same bullet,
Yes.
okay? And State's Exhibit number 142, which you labeled M, same bullet,
Yes.
okay. Now I want to show you State's Exhibit marked 143. Dr. Boyko, tell me what that is.
Well, K, it's entrance wound on the right leg,
Okay,
and this wound perforates muscles and exits on lateral surface of the right leg. So exit wounds are H, I, and J.
okay. And this, you can see J and H, right?
Yes.
And showing you State's Exhibit 144. Looks like an H, but is that the I?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's 4 gunshot wounds to Elena Petty?
Yes.
And what was the cause of death of Elena Petty?
Multiple gunshot wounds.
All right, showing you which one in them themselves were fatal, Dr. Boyko?
Which one? Little?
Yes.
Of course, projectiles through the heart, through the lungs, through the torso, it's little gunshot wounds.
Okay. And State's Exhibit marked 150.
Yes. Here, X-ray was taken when she was in uniform. That's why it's so many attributes there. But it's X-ray of her body, and you can see on the left arm, it's all bones fractured, ulna, radius, and here is, oops, sorry. How to remove it? Well, you can see fractured bones on the left arm, humerus, ulna, and radius. And all this stuff is from her uniform. And some small projectiles in the left chest here. I don't like these lines. May they remove?
To erase it for you?
Yes, please. Yes. You can see small fragments here and fragment here. That's what I recovered during autopsy.
Okay. And then I will show you State's Exhibit 149.
Yes, it's projectile which was recovered from the liver.
Okay. And State's Exhibit 148.
Yes, it's projectile was recovered from the body. It was in body bag, attached to the body. When we receive body in body bag, it was attached to the surface of the body. So that's what I put, body bag projectile.
Okay. Because that appears to be much larger than the little fragments in the other instances.
Yes. Its mean bullet came through the body and was just attached to the body.
Okay, and State's Exhibit 145.
It's projectile fragments which I recovered from the chest, from the right side of the chest.
And State's Exhibit 146.
Yes, it's projectile which was recovered from the from arm.
Okay. And showing you 151. Is that Elena Petty?
Yes.
Okay. And you said the cause of death was multiple gunshot wounds?
Yes.
Okay, Dr. Boyko, now I'd like to show you state's exhibits 16U, 16T, 16S, 16R, 16Q, 16P, 16O, and 5Q. Dr. Boyko, I'll ask you if you can identify these photographs. Can you? And they are, you performed the autopsy on Carmen Chentrum,
Yes, I did.
and is those photographs as a result of you performing an autopsy on Carmen Chentrum?
Yes.
And they truly and accurately depict the wounds reflected on the body when you examined her on Thursday, February the 15th, 2018.
Yes.
And with those photographs that you just examined, the numbers that I read out for identification assist you in illustrating to the court and the jury the nature of her wounds.
Yes.
Your Honor, this time I would like to offer those exhibits.
Is there any objection?
This moment, to the MIL 12 as well as argument for any trial, would have taken stand. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, over the defense objection, State's Exhibit 5Q for identification will be received as State's 155. 16O will be received as 156, 156. 156. 16P, 157. 16Q, 158, 16R, 159, 16S, 160, 16T like Tom, 161, 16U, 162.
And Doctor, while the clerk is marking those,
Actually, Mr. Schatz, the jury needs a recess, a short recess.
Okay, great.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take just a 5-minute recess so you all can use the facilities, or as soon as you're done, we'll bring you back in and we'll finish the testimony of this witness, okay? Thank you. Do not discuss the case and leave your notepads on the chairs. Okay, the jurors have exited, so just to keep you all in the loop, the sheriff's office passed me a note that one of the jurors needed to use the restroom right away.
Sure.
So that's the reason I cut you off.
That's fine.
Okay, so we'll just take a 5-minute recess, long enough for the jurors to use the restroom, and then we'll continue. Doctor, if you need to walk around, that's fine. Just please don't discuss your testimony with anyone.
Okay.
And we'll finish you up in 5 to 10 minutes, or however long it takes.
Jurors are entering.
Okay, the jurors are present. You all may be seated. State whenever you're ready, you can continue with your witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. Dr. Boyko was going to talk about Carmen Shentrum. Showing you State's Exhibit 55. Is that Carmen Shentrum who performed the autopsy on?
Yes.
Yes. And State's Exhibit 156.
Yes.
Lady. And what were the measurements and age of Carmen Shentrum?
The body is 134 pounds, 72 inches in length, and compatible with reported age of 16 years.
And when you performed your autopsy, Dr. Boyko, how many entrance gunshot wounds?
5.
Okay. Showing you State's Exhibit 157, and you have a gunshot wound labeled A. Would you describe that wound for us, please?
Yes, it's gunshot wound A in the right temporal skull to the head, perforates skull and brain, and you see that brain was coming out from the skull because of the high velocity of the projectile.
Okay. Why does a high velocity projectile do that where a lower velocity projectile would not?
Because it's very high energy of these projectiles. High velocity creates very high energy, so damage is very significant. That's what I show on previous wounds, and on this one. I never saw this on low velocity, because on low velocity you see entrance and exit wound, but when it's high velocity, it's like blow up.
Okay. And what was the path of this projectile, the wound A?
And this projectile, path of the wound, it's perforating skull, dura, and brain, and I recovered fragments of projectile from the brain.
Would this wound in and of itself cause death?
Excuse me?
Would this wound in and of itself be fatal?
Yes, certainly.
Okay. And showing you State's Exhibit 158. Could you explain wounds B, C, and D?
Wound B is entrance wound on the right breast, and C, it's exit wound, so it's practically very superficial gunshot wound. It's perforate practically soft tissue and just cause hemorrhages in soft tissue, because it's B entrance, C exit. And wound D, it's graze wound. Graze means it's completely superficial, it just striking the skin and causes a large laceration on the skin.
Okay. And showing you now State's Exhibit 159. And you have that labeled E.
Yes, it's perforating gunshot wound of the right arm. E is entrance wound, and F is exit wound. This wound perforates muscles of the wound and exits on the right arm. Exit wound is F.
Okay. And showing you now 160, and you have this labeled F. Is that the exit wound that you were just telling us about?
Yes, it's exit wound.
And the graze wound that you mentioned as wound number 5, H, where would that be?
H, graze wound on the left forearm.
Okay.
It's another graze wound.
Okay. And State's Exhibit 161.
Yes, it's projectile fragments which I recovered from the head.
Okay. Okay. And what was the cause of death of Carmen Chentron?
Because of those multiple gunshot wounds.
Which one, A, you said would be fatal in
Yes.
itself? B and E?
No, it's just superficial gunshot wounds.
Okay. Now I want to show you State's Exhibits 17J, 17I, 17H, 17G, 17F, 17E, 17D, 17C, 17B,
What was the last one, please?
17B,
D?
and before that was 17C, and 17A. Am I going too fast?
No.
16Z, 16Y, 16X, 16W, and 16V. And ask you, Dr. Boyko.
Yes.
Okay. Do you recognize those photographs?
Yes.
These photographs accurately and truly depict the wounds on Meadow Pollock as they existed on Thursday, February the 15th, 2018.
Yes.
And Dr. Boyko, would these photographs help you in illustrating to the court the nature of the wounds and the cause of death and to the jury?
Yes.
At this time, I'd like to offer 17J, 17I, 17H, 17Z, 17F, 17E, 17B, 17C, 17B, 17A, 16Z, 169 is already in it, 16X, 16W, 16 and 16B.
Not 16Y?
You know, that may be 169, it's already been in. No, it's 16Y.
16Y?
Yeah.
Defense, any objection?
Yes, ma'am, we object pursuant to D and MIL 12 as well as the arguments made prior to the witness taking the stand. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Over the defense objection, the exhibits will be entered in the following order. 16B like Victor, 163. 16W, 164. 16X like X-ray, 165. 16Y, 166. 16Z, 167. 17A, 168. 17B, 169. 17C, 170, 17D, 171, 17E, 172, 17F, 173, 17G, 174, 17H, 175, 17I, 176, and 17J, 177.
Thank you, Your Honor. While the clerk is doing that, Dr. Boyko, I want to show you Stacy's Exhibit 110 that's already been introduced in evidence. And is that Meadow Pollock?
Yes.
Okay. And height, weight, age?
The body is 110 pounds, 58 inches in length, and appear compatible with reported age of 18 years.
And how many entrance wounds, gunshot entrance wounds?
6.
Okay.
Well, it's 7.
Okay. Maybe we can do this, Your Honor. While the clerk is watching, we just wanted to show Dr. Boyko a little segment of Meadow Pollock in the hallway. Just,
This is an exhibit that's already in evidence?
yeah, it's already done.
And we just renew our objection to that, to S19 based on previous arguments. Thank you.
Okay, so noted.
Doctor, it'll appear on your screen. I just want you to... And no, I don't want to do the whole thing.
It's just the first.
Just for one little phrase. See her lying there with the yellow circle, Doctor?
Yes,
And movement?
yes.
Okay. Thank you. That's enough.
Go ahead whenever you're ready.
Thank you. Doctor, first I'd like to show you what you marked as wound L, and it's 164 in evidence. Is that the first gunshot wound that you marked?
Yes.
Okay. And
Gunshot wound to the head, it's graze gunshot wound. So it's not penetrate directly to the head. It was like tangential, just shot the skull of the head. But because it's high velocity and high energy, it caused fracture of the skull, it caused injury of the brain, subarachnoid hemorrhage, and contusion of the brain. Even was it tangential, even the bullet not come inside the head, it's caused much injury to the head.
Okay. And now, Doctor, I'd like to show you Stig's Exhibit 165 that you have marked F.
Yes, it's perforating gunshot wound of the left side of back. It's entrance wound. This wound perforates posterior rib number 7, and after that projectile fragmented to multiple fragments. And these fragments perforates left lung, vertebra number 8, thoracic vertebra, right lung, right lateral rib number 6, and exit on the right lateral surface of torso.
What did it do to the spinal cord?
Final exit wound was B, but it was exit wound just from one of fragments. Many fragments just stay in the body, small fragments.
Okay, and the spinal cord, was there any damage?
Yes, because thoracic vertebra number 8 was perforated by fragments. So associated injuries include thoracic vertebra number 8 fracture and spinal cord transection by this projectile fragment.
Okay. And State's Exhibit number 166, you mentioned B.
Yes, it's exit wound.
Okay.
It's not just one, you see, it's a large one and two small ones. It's from projectile fragments.
Okay.
And some projectile fragments still in the body.
Okay. Now I'll show you State's Exhibit marked 167, and you have it marked as entrance wound E.
Yes, it's perforating gunshot wound of the left shoulder. This wound perforates scapula, muscles of the left shoulder, and cause fracture of the scapula and intramuscular hemorrhages. It's exit on the left side of upper back.
Okay. And you labeled the exit wound D.
Yes.
Okay, showing you State's Exhibit marked 68, 168.
It's just exit of one of fragments.
And the D illustrates where it exited?
Yes, D is exit wound of this fragment.
Okay. And I'll show you State's Exhibit mark 169. It looks like it's close to exit wound D. You have it labeled entrance wound C.
Yes, it's perforating gunshot wound of the right side of back. This wound perforates muscles, scapula, right clavicle, and exit on the right shoulder.
Okay. And showing you State's Exhibit 170, did you label the exit wound A?
Yes.
Okay, and here is State's Exhibit 170.
Yes.
Is that the exit wound?
Yes, it's another example what high velocity projectiles doing with the body, such a huge injury, because bullet strike the scapula and blow up and cause such a exit wound, such a large one.
Okay. And now I show you State's Exhibit 171 that you have labeled as entrance wound J.
It's perforating gunshot wound of the left hip, J, and H is exit wound. This would perforates muscles of the left hip and exit on the left buttock.
Left buttock?
Yes.
Okay, and you had that labeled H, and I show you
Yes.
State's Exhibit 172.
Yes, it's exit.
And that's the exit wound H?
Yes.
Okay. And next, State's Exhibit 173, you have it labeled G.
Yes, it's entrance wound of the right buttock. It's penetrating gunshot wound of the right buttock.
And what damage, if any, did that do?
Yes, this bullet perforates muscles of buttock and head of the right femur and pelvis bones and disintegrated to the small projectiles fragments, which we not recovered because it was very small. It's like blow up. There you can see it's on X-ray, small projectiles, like snowstorm.
And you indicated there was a ballistic impact point, an injury K, and I show you again 171. What is that?
Well, when these bullets strike the walls or hard surface, they are disintegrated, and all these small projectiles flying like ballistic, and they cause ballistic injury. It's very small, like K, and penetrate the body like projectile, like separate projectiles. But it's small projectile fragments.
And what was the cause of death of Meadow Pollock?
Multiple gunshot wounds.
Okay. Which of the 7 wounds that you described would have been fatal in and of itself?
Gunshot wound to the head cause injury of the brain, and gunshot wound to the torso, which perforates lungs, thoracic vertebra, transects spinal cord. So head and torso gunshot wounds cause death.
Okay. And I have a perspective view in 174. Does this show the wounds to her
Yes.
back?
Yes.
Okay. And now I show you State's Exhibits 175.
Yeah. It's projectile fragment from back. And body came to the autopsy to our office in body back, and when we removed the body, we found this projectile fragment which was attached to the body.
Okay. And showing you State Exhibit 176.
Yes, these projectile fragments I removed from the chest of the decedent.
Okay. And that's an illustration, Doctor, of how the projectile breaks up?
Yes, disintegrated.
Okay. Your Honor, go ahead. Did you say something?
No?
Okay. Your Honor, I have no further questions of Dr. Boyko.
Okay.
No questions, Judge. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Your Honor, I have a long witness. Do you want me to start now, or do you do?
Please.
Okay, then I will. Danny Christian.
So please raise your right hand. You solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. You can be seated. When you're seated, please state your full name and spell your last name for the record.
My name is Detective Danny Christian. My last name is spelled Krystyan.
Could you repeat that one more time? K-R-Y?
Krystyan.
Thank you.
And your occupation, sir?
I am currently employed by the Broward County Sheriff's Office. I am a crime scene detective. I've been with the Sheriff's Office for 21 years.
Okay. And how long have you been in the crime scene unit?
I've been assigned to the crime scene unit for approximately 8 years.
Okay. I'd like to call your attention to Wednesday, February the 14th, 2018. You remember that day?
I do.
Okay. Where were you? And tell me how you responded to a certain location.
That day I was at the office, and I was advised by my supervisor to respond to the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas campus in reference to a shooting.
Okay. And what time did you arrive there?
I arrived there approximately 4:15.
Okay. And I want to show you state's exhibits. First, state's exhibit. It's already been introduced in evidence. State's exhibit 1. Do you recognize that, sir? Can you see it?
Yes.
Okay.
So this is an aerial view of the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas campus, and this is from the viewpoint of looking from northeast to southwest.
Okay. And now show you state's exhibit. Well, let me show you these for identification. I want to show you state's exhibits 7L, 7K, 7J, 7N, and 7M. Can you identify those?
Yes, I can.
Okay. Do those photographs truly and accurately depict Building 12 as it existed February the 14th, 2018?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Your Honor, I'd like to offer these exhibits.
Is there any objection?
No, ma'am.
Okay, without objection, states. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Seven J will be received as 178, 7K 179, 7L like Larry 180, 7M like Mary 181, and 7N like Nancy 182.
First, I'd like to show you, Mr. Christian, State's Exhibit 181. What does that show?
That is the east side of Building 12,
Okay.
and that's east looking west.
Okay.
It's just that there are markings on the screen. I don't know if you want to.
Yeah, I do. I'm just trying to figure out if I can get it lighter, so it's hard to see. Ian, is there any way to get that any lighter, you think, or just a photograph?
That's just a photograph.
Okay. Do me a favor, Detective Christian. Would you circle the double doors? Can you see it? And how about the stairwell door?
It may be right there.
Okay, right there, okay. And showing you State's Exhibit number 178. Can you see that?
Yes.
What is it?
That appears to be the south side of Building 12.
Okay. And 179?
That is the north side of Building 12.
Okay. And 180?
That is also the north side of Building 12, just a different angle.
Okay. And 182?
That is an aerial view of Building 12 and Building 13.
Okay, which one is Building 12?
Building 12.
You can use you know how to use the illustrator?
Building 12.
Right.
Circled there, and Building 13 would be on the left. I'll put a little square there.
Okay. Very good. Okay, after you took the photographs of the exterior, did you go inside?
Yes.
Okay. And when you went inside, did you have a particular assignment?
Yes, I was the lead forensic detective for the first floor.
Okay, what does that mean?
That means it was my job to document all of the evidence on the first floor and to collect it, to process it, and to author a report.
Okay. Did you figure out a way to do it? Because it's a lengthy hall and classrooms, right?
Yes, because it was such a large crime scene, what we did is we divided it up into quadrants. And you're going to hear my testimony today a little bit about quadrants, so I'll explain it a little to you. We started on the west side of Building 12 on the first floor, and the quadrants went every 20 feet. So when you hear quadrant 1-1, that would start on the west side of Building 12 on the first floor, and every 20 feet would be another quadrant. So 0 to 20 feet would be quadrant 1-1. The second quadrant would be 1-2, which would be 20 feet to 40 feet. And then quadrant 1-3 would be 40 feet to 60 feet, and so on, all the way up to quadrant 1-10. Now, quadrant 1-10 ended with the double doors on the east side. The building, or the hallway, wasn't quite 200 feet, so it was a little bit shorter than 20 feet. That's the only quadrant that isn't quite 20 feet. It was a little bit smaller.
Okay. I want to show you State's Exhibit Mark 7-0. And does that diagram illustrate, well, what does it illustrate?
It illustrates the quadrants that are on the hallway, and it's basically a schematic of the first floor.
Okay. Is that true and accurate? I mean, it's not to
scale, but
scale.
yes.
Can I go first?
Sure.
It's not to scale, right?
It's not to scale.
So, but it illustrates how you divided up the
That's
quadrants?
Correct. Yes,
and
it is.
where the classrooms are?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Your Honor, I'd like to offer 7-0.
Is there any objection?
No, ma'am.
Okay, State's Exhibit 7-0 will be received as 183.
Okay, Detective Christian, here's. It's now 183. So, is that what you were explaining to the jurors, exactly how you did the quadrants?
Yes, it starts west, works its way east.
Okay,
And
so which way is west?
Okay, west is on this side here,
What? Okay.
and this side would be the east,
Okay.
and over here would be north, and this would be south.
Okay. And you started on the west side, right?
Correct.
And how wide are the quadrants?
They're all 20 feet, except for the very last one, which is 110, which is probably about 10 feet, and the reason being the hallway wasn't quite 200 feet long.
Okay. Now, there are 10 classrooms on the first floor, right?
Correct.
Okay. So what's the first thing that you did? Did you do the hallway first?
Correct.
Okay. want to show you State's Exhibits 7X, 7Z, 7S, 11K, 8B, 8A, 7P, and 5I. And first, let me show you 5I. And do you recognize who that person is?
I do.
Okay. Who is that?
This is victim Luke Hoyer.
Okay. And showing you the rest of the exhibits, what did they depict? Did you take those photographs?
Yes, I did.
And did they accurately and truly depict the hallway and items in the hallway when you went in the building, 1200 building, on February the 14th, 2018?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Your Honor, at this time, I'd like to offer the exhibits with the identification numbers I just read out.
Okay, is there any objection?
This one we object to DMIL 12 as well as arguments made prior to witness taking stand.
Okay, thank you, so noted. Over the defense objection, the exhibits will be entered in the following order. 5I is received as 183. 7P.
There's already 183.
Hold on, guys. Clerk, you don't know. Thank you, though. Okay, excuse me. 5I will be received as 184. 7P as in Paul, 185. 7S, 186. 7X, like X-ray, 187. 7Z, 188. 8A, 189. 8B, 190. And 11K, 191.
Okay, Detective Christian, I want to show you State's Exhibit 185. Okay, did you take that photograph?
Yes.
Okay. And State's Exhibit 184, you identified that as Luke Hoyer?
Correct.
Okay. So Mr. Hoyer was laying right there?
That's correct.
Okay. Where, with reference to your schematic of quadrants.
That would be quadrant 1-7.
Okay. And State's Exhibit 190. What classroom is that? Do you recall?
That would be classroom 1215, I believe.
1215. Okay. Good. And now I want to show you State's Exhibit marked 188. Okay. What does that show?
So that's a view of classroom 1216, and then to the left of that is some evidence that I collected, and on the floor would be broken glass, multiple fired cartridges, and then just to the left you could just see the leg of victim Luke Hoyer.
Okay. And I want to show you 187. And do I have that up right now?
I think you have it. There you go.
There you go. Okay. So is that a close-up of what I just showed you in State's Exhibit 188?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So what is there?
So what I see there is there's a 10-round magazine there.
Would you circle that?
I
Do you know
can.
how to work that?
And when I say a magazine, for those who aren't familiar with firearms, a magazine is the accessory in a firearm that holds the bullets. And when we talk about capacity, that would be the number of bullets that it would hold. Magazines are also known as, sometimes people call them a clip, but that would be the part that gets inserted into the firearm.
Okay. And are there some casings?
Yeah, there's multiple casings you can see in this photograph. I'll put X's on those. There's some here, and there's some up here.
Okay. And then what else is there?
So there's also a backpack. Just to the right of the backpack is a camel shirt, and to the right of that camel shirt is a black ski mask. So ski mask there.
And 186, is that put in perspective as to the door of 1216 and where those items were?
That's correct.
Okay. And showing you now 191. Oh, wait a minute.
So that's another magazine. It's a 30-round magazine. It was on the north wall, and that one contained 9 live rifle rounds.
Okay. And 189.
So this is on the south side of the hallway. This is another 30-round capacity magazine, and then next to it there are a couple of fired cartridges.
And you took all those items into custody, I would assume, correct?
I did.
Okay, let me show you now. State's Exhibit marked 7R for identification. Take a look at that.
Yes. So this is the backpack that was in the photograph that I recovered from the hallway.
Okay. Now at this time I look over 7R.
Is there any objection?
No, ma'am.
Without objection, 7R will be received as States 192.
And okay, State Exhibit marked 7T.
Okay. This is a single-edged blade knife that was recovered from inside the backpack.
Okay. Did you swab this?
I did.
You did? All right, I'd like to offer State Exhibit 7T.
Is there any objection?
Just Rule 401, please.
Okay, States 7T, T as in Tom will be received as 193.
And State Exhibit 8F.
So this was the black ski mask that I recovered from the hallway.
And did you swab that also?
I did.
Okay, Your Honor, I'd like to offer State's Exhibit 8F.
Is there any objection?
Just Rule 401, please.
Okay, States 8F F will be received as 194.
And I'd like to show you State's Exhibit 7W.
Okay, so these are the 3 magazines that I recovered from the hallway, and these 9 live rounds came out of one of the magazines.
Your Honor, at this time I'd like to offer State's Exhibit 7W.
Is there any objection?
No, ma'am.
State's Exhibit 7W will be received as 195.
Thank you, ma'am. Okay, Detective Christian, now these magazines are 195. So would you just show the jurors which one's the 10-round magazine?
This one's a 10-round magazine here, and these are both 30-round. This is the one that was on the north wall with the 9 live rounds. This one was on the south wall,
Okay.
and that one was empty.
Okay. The 10-round was empty,
Correct.
and the 30-round was empty?
One of the 30 rounds, the other one had 9 live rounds.
Okay. Just wanted to show you. State's Exhibit marked 7V. Yes, if we can identify this.
Yes, this is the live rifle round that I found inside the backpack.
Inside the backpack.
That's correct.
You know what caliber that is?
It looks like a .223.
Your Honor, I'd like to offer a 7V.
V like Victor.
Yes.
Is there any objection?
No, ma'am.
State's Exhibit 7V like Victor will be received as State's 196.
Okay, Detective Christian, after, oh, wait a second. I want to show you this photograph again, 185. See 185 next to Luke Hoyer?
Yes.
What is that?
To the right of him is a broken laptop computer.
Okay.
And what's significant about that is there is a projectile sight right down the middle of it. And when I say projectile sight, in layman's terms, that would be a bullet hole.
Okay. And in State's Exhibit 190, also near Mr. Hoyer, looked like a phone. Did you take that into custody?
I did. And also the phone, it also has a projectile sight in the middle of the phone.
Okay. Now I want to show you. State's Exhibit 8D for identification.
Yes, this is the same laptop.
The same laptop was reflected in the photograph?
Yes.
that I showed you?
Mhm.
Okay. And indicate where the bullet hole is?
It does.
Okay, Your Honor, at this time, I'd like to offer State's Exhibit 8D.
Is there any objection?
No, ma'am.
State's Exhibit 8D for identification will be received as 197.
And now I want to show you State's Exhibit 8C.
Yes, this is the same cell phone that was on the floor in the hallway with the bullet hole in the middle.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to offer, Your Honor, State's Exhibit 8C.
Any objection?
No, ma'am.
Okay, without objection, states 8C as in Charlie will be received as states 198.
Your Honor, if I could tonight, ask Detective Christian to step down and illustrate to the jurors where the bullet hole was in this laptop.
Sure, and if Ms. McNeil, if you or any of the lawyers want to move so you can see what's being shown, you may do so.
Mr. Secor, thank you, Judge.
So the projectile site is here. He knows something.
So your projectile site is right here, and that would be an exit based on the beveling of the plastic. And this would be the entrance based on the inward beveling. Anybody else need to see it?
Christian, you can have a seat. Thanks. All right, so after you went down the hall, did you go to inside any of the classrooms?
Yes, I went into 1216. Well, I went into all the classrooms, but evidence collected in 1216, 1214, 1213, and 1215.
Okay. I want to show you now State's Exhibits 5B, 5P, 8P, 8Q, 8N, 8I, and 8J. And I'd like you to take a look at these photographs and tell me if they accurately and truly depict the inside of classroom 1216 as existed on Wednesday, February the 14th, 2018, and the people that were in that room.
Yes, sir.
Okay. At this time, I'd like to offer State's Exhibits 5B, 5P, 8P, 8Q, 8N, 8I, 8J.
Is there any objection?
Yes, ma'am, we object to DMIL 12 as well as the arguments made during the break. Thank you.
Thank you. Over the defense objection, states 5B will be received as 199. States 5P as in Paul will be received as 200. States 8I will be received as 201. 8J will be received as 202. 8N will be received as 203. 8P will be received as 204. And 8Q will be received as 205.
Detective Christian, while clerk is marking that, I want to show you State's Exhibit 136 that's already been introduced in evidence. And did you see that young lady in 1216?
Yes, it's victim Elena Petty.
Okay. I'd like to show you now Detective Christian State Exhibit 201. Did you take that photograph?
Yes.
And is that how you found that young man?
Yes, it's victim Alex Schechter.
Okay. And a close-up 202. That's where he was in the classroom, right?
Yes, that appeared to be his final position.
Okay. And 202, close-up the way he was over the chair?
Yes.
Okay, and State's Exhibit 200. Do you know who that is?
That's victim Alex Schechter.
Showing you now State's Exhibit 204.
That's a photograph of two victims in 1216. That would be victim Elena Petty, and the other victim next to her is victim Alyssa Eldadef.
Okay. And the Laney Petty that you've already identified, is she the one in the ROTC uniform?
That's correct.
Okay. I'm showing you State's Exhibit 199. Who is that?
That's victim Alyssa Eldadef.
And State's Exhibit 205. Could you give us some perspective as to what that is?
That is the blood stain pattern that was near their body on the north wall.
Okay. And if I show you again 204, where would
that would be this area, right?
you have
So it
the
doesn't want to work.
tell
But
us
it
there?
was just next to the head of Alyssa.
Okay. Okay. What's the next classroom that you went into?
1214.
Okay, I'd like to show you State's Exhibit now. 5E, 50, 8X, 8W, 8, did I say 8S before? 8S, 8T, 8R, I got to remark this one because it just says F. Maybe that is F. Okay.
Yes, these are photographs of classroom 1214.
Photographs of classroom 1214. Do they actually depict classroom 1214 and the people that were inside classroom 1214 as it existed on February the 14th, 2018?
Yes, sir.
And Detective Christian, you took these photographs?
Yes.
Okay. Your Honor, at this time I'd like to offer these exhibits.
Is there any objection?
Yes, ma'am, we renew our objection pursuant to DMIL 12 as well as the arguments made during the break. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, over the defense objection states 5E will be received as 206. 5O will be received as 207. 8R 208. 8S 209. 8T 210. 8W 211. And 8X like X-ray 212. I don't think there's enough. Oh, and F like Frank without a number in front of it, 213.
First, I'd like to show you State Exhibit 213. What does that show?
It shows the door of classroom 1214, and this is from the hallway looking in.
Okay. And 211.
That is a viewpoint from the teacher's desk looking out toward the hallway. So it'd be from a south viewpoint looking north.
Okay. And Stage Exhibit 212.
This is another photograph of the classroom.
Okay. And what about, did you examine these laptops?
Yes, there was multiple laptops with damage on them. Some of them had projectile sites, which would be, in a sense, bullet holes. And then also there was others with defects, which would be damage caused by either bullets or fragments of the bullets.
Okay. And State's Exhibit 208.
There we have two victims in the corner of the room. One of them was identified as Nikolas Cruz, And the other victim is Helena Ramsey.
Okay. And showing you a close-up. State's Exhibit 210. Who's
That's
that?
a closer-up photograph of Nikolas Cruz.
Okay. And 209.
And that's a closer-up photograph of Helena Ramsey.
Okay. And 207.
That's a photograph of Helena Ramsey.
And 206.
That's a photograph of Nikolas Cruz.
And what's the next classroom that you went into?
1213.
Did you look at 1215 before you went down to 1213?
It's very possible.
Okay. Let me just show you States Exhibits 9F, 9E, 9B, 9D, and 9C. And ask you if you can identify these exhibits.
Yes, these are images of classroom 1215.
Okay. And these images truly and accurately depict classroom 1215 as you saw it on February the 14th, 2018.
Yes.
This time, Your Honor, I'd like to offer these exhibits.
Is there any objection?
Yes, ma'am. We object pursuant to the MIL 12 as well as the arguments made during the break. Thank you.
Thank you. Over the defense objection, the exhibits will be received in the following order. 9B, as in boy, will be received as 214. 9C, like Charlie, 215. 9D, as in dog, 216, 216. 9E, as in elephant, 217. And 9F, like Frank, 218.
Okay, first I'd like to show you State's Exhibit 214, Detective Christian. What's that show?
That is the front door, or the door entering classroom 1215 from the hallway side.
Okay. And State's Exhibit 215.
This is the same door, only I have ballistic trajectory rods in the door. And the reason I do that is that it's a forensic tool to help us with firearms. And what that does is it gives us a general idea of which way a bullet is traveling from and to. And so in this particular door, the beveling on the metal tells me that the shots were fired from the outside of the door. And the second skin of metal on the inside tells me that because of this beveling out, that was an exit projectile site. So the rods, when we place them into both holes, it gives us a line of approximately where the firearm was shot and where it was heading.
Okay. Now showing you State's Exhibit 218.
So this is the same door, but from the inside. So you'll see 5 different penetration sites on that metal door. And then just to the left of the door was a penetration site through the wall. And you'll see that with a little yellow rod on that one.
Okay. And State's Exhibit 216.
So these are projectile sites. You'll see a large one here and a smaller one right there.
Okay. And 217. Could you tell us where that is?
Yeah, that's on the wall just to the right of the door.
Wait, let me get rid of this.
So this is a projectile site just to the right of the door, which penetrated through the wall.
Okay. Okay, then I think you said you went into classroom 1213?
Correct.
I want to show you now State's Exhibits 9I and 9J. I ask you if you can identify these two exhibits.
Yeah, these are classroom 1213.
Okay. And do these two photographs, 9I and 9J, truly and accurately depict the interior of classroom 1213 as existed on February the 14th, 2018?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Your Honor, I'd like to offer 9I and 9J.
Is there any objection?
Yes, ma'am, object pursuant to D and MIL 12 as well as arguments made during the day. Thank you.
Over the defense objection, 9I will be received as 219, and 9J will be received as 220.
First, I'm going to show you State's Exhibit 220. And what does that show?
This is classroom 1213, and you'll see the victim on the floor. It's Carmen Shentrup.
Okay. And State's Exhibit 155 that has already been introduced in evidence.
That's also the victim, Carmen Shentrup.
Okay. And State's Exhibit 219.
So that's the location where Carmen Shentrup was found. Her body was removed at that point, and that shows the projectile sites that were near where she was laying on the wall.
Okay. Now I want to show you your schematic, and I want to show you State's Exhibit. And you said you started from the west, right?
Correct.
Okay, so that'd be Q1, right?
Correct.
All right. let me show you State's Exhibit 10C. Let me see if you can identify that.
Yes, this is the fire cartridge that was recovered from quadrant 1-1, which would be on the west side.
And the next quadrant, you found the projectile was 4, right?
Correct.
Q4. Okay. Show you State's Exhibit marked 10A.
Yes, this is the fire casing from quadrant 1-4.
And the next quadrant was
1-5.
showing you now State's Exhibit 9Y.
Yes, these are 3 fire cartridges collected from quadrant 1-5.
From quadrant,
1-5.
thank you.
And the next quadrant,
1-6.
and how many projectiles did you, casings did you get from?
I collected 30 fire casings from quadrant 1-6.
Showing you State's Exhibit 9B.
V like Victor. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Show you the 30 casings?
Yes, Steve.
Okay, you collected these?
Yes.
Okay. And the next quadrant?
1-7.
And how many?
I collected 12 fire casings from 1-7.
Okay. Showing you State's Exhibit 9S.
Yes, sir.
You collected those casings? From
Yes, sir.
that Quadrant
1-7.
1-7?
Correct.
And they're 9?
There should be 12.
12. And the next quadrant?
It's 1-8.
And how many casings did you recover from?
20.
I'll show you 9P. See if you can identify that.
Yes. 20 fire cartridges.
How many we know is casings? Yeah.
Yes, casings. Cartridges are the same terminology. We talk about the same piece of evidence.
And what's the next quadrant?
1-9.
And how many did you collect from 1-9?
Should be 1 at 1-9.
Okay, and then one after that?
And then 1-10, there should be 2 in 1-10.
Okay, so first let me show you State Exhibit 9N from quadrant 9.
That's correct.
Okay, you collected this
Yes.
casing. And 9L from Q10.
And yes, I collected these 2 as well.
Okay. So how many casings did you collect from the first floor hall?
So I collected a total of 70 fire cartridges from the first floor.
Your Honor, I'd like to offer these exhibits.
Is there any objection?
Just to Rule 401, please.
Okay, states 10, with the defense objection, states 10C, like Charlie, will be received as 221. States 10A for identification will be received as 222. 9Y for identification will be received as 223. 9V, like Victor, 224. 9S, like Sam, 225. 9P, as in Paul, 226. 9N as in Nancy, 227. And 9L as in Larry, 228.
And Detective Christian, after you collected certain items, did you swab them?
Yes.
And what's the purpose of swabbing something?
So swabbing, it just helps us to determine if a person had contact with it. So there's a couple ways we can do that. We can either do fingerprints or we could do DNA. So the swabbing is actually going for the DNA portion of it.
I'm going to show you State's Exhibit 10K. And what is this?
So this is a swab that was taken from the ski mask.
Okay. And 10H?
This is a swab taken from the magazine.
Which one?
The DK5, I believe this was the 10-round one. I'd have to double check. Let's see. Yeah, the 10-round magazine.
Okay. And 10J?
This is a swab taken from the backpack.
Okay. The gray backpack and all?
Yes.
And 10I?
This is a swab taken from the knife handle that was located inside the backpack.
Okay. And 10G?
And this is a swab taken from the 30-round capacity magazine.
Which one?
The empty one.
Okay. And 10F?
And this is a swab taken from the other 30-round magazine, the one that had live rounds in it.
Okay. Your Honor, I don't have any further questions about Detective Christian.
Okay, defense, any questions? Okay, thank you, sir. You're excused. May I speak to the lawyers briefly on the... Okay, members of the jury, thank you all for your patience, your time, and your attention here today. We are going to recess for the weekend, and we are going to be back here, or you are going to be reporting back here on Monday at 8:30 so that we can start at 9. I'm reminding you again, during the recess, you must not discuss the case with anyone nor permit anyone to say anything to you or in your presence about the case. If anyone attempts to say anything to you or in your presence about this case, tell the person to stop, leave the person, and report the matter immediately. Thank you all very much. Please leave your notebooks behind. We will secure them. And other than that, I hope you all have a great weekend. Thank you.
Judge, before we recess, there's a couple just housekeeping matters. There's a few exhibits that we actually moved into evidence, but we did not publish to the jury that we're seeking to withdraw. The jury hasn't seen them.
Okay.
Do we have a list?
I assume you're looking for the numbers?
I think we have the numbers. We'll pull the items and just show them to council. 109, 110, 116, and 117.
What is it? I have 109, 110, 113.
14, 113, 115, 116, 117.
So, Mr. Marcus, you're gonna take those items and show them to the defense so I can find out if there's any objection.
Correct.
Said he didn't. Because they were going to show him to yeah, these.
Identification of those students. Swab, please.
He's going to re-enter it, so it's not okay. So we need it out. The rest are in these photographs, so they're probably from the
No,
mail.
that's what I don't have.
They'll be published later.
All the swabs right there. So there's a 10-8, there's a 10-8. Oh, it's in this. The 10-8.
I had that as H.
Oh, you have the schema? Yes.
I had that as 10H. I had the night handle on the backpack is J. One of the magazines is G. The live round magazine is F. I might be it. I might have met yeah.
To see what the state is gonna say about withdrawing certain things.
We were just looking at it.
Some of the others are coming in later. Others were a little incomplete, but there is one that wasn't shown. Zone we can identify momentarily. It's 117. I think the defense has no objection to this picture being withdrawn. It was not published to the jury.
That's correct, Your Honor.
So what exactly are you doing with this exhibit? You're no longer seeking to have it in evidence?
We're withdrawing it from evidence. So I think for the record keeping, 117 would just be crossed out as been a withdrawn exhibit.
Judge, I've never heard of doing this before. I'm not saying it's not permissible, but if we could table it till Monday, I'll do some research over the weekend and just make sure.
Just for the record, the defense had objected to it. The
Yes.
court allowed it in. The state decided not to publish it to the jury. So the jury has not seen it.
Is there any harm in waiting until Monday for
No.
me to
Of course
enter an
not.
order?
Of course not, Your Honor.
I know the media views sensitive photos after court. However, it has been my procedure that if the jury doesn't get to see it, if it's not published, the media doesn't get to see it until such time as it's published to the jury. So if this wasn't published, it would not be shown to media today.
Okay. That's fine, Your Honor.
And in fact, since you said there were a number of photos that were not published, if you would set those aside so that we can mark them as not having been published.
Okay. We'll do our best. We think we have a list.
I wasn't keeping track of what was